Track wrestling at the National Wrestling Coaches Association convention with Rutgers coach Scott Goodale. What's going on with Scarlet Knights this summer? How has training been? How's everybody doing?
Training's been good. We've got a lot of guys in the room. A lot of our young guys. All of our freshmen have been up one time or another, taking classes and things like that. We sent Ashnault to Russia for 2 weeks to part of the AIA wrestling, which was a great experience for him. We sent Brian Murphy and Nick Suriano out to Italy to train with their U23 team, so that's been good. Kind of getting these guys overseas, it's been good for them. And again, a lot of our guys are doing internships, so they're in and out, but it's been a busy summer for us. We haven't really stopped. We'll take a couple weeks here in August to kind of get off the mats a little bit, and then September 4th, we're ready to go back at it. So it's been a good summer.
What prompted all the overseas stuff?
That's just something we promised. We keep getting better and better kids. It's something that with our RTC and with our club, we kind of told them we'd allow them to give them these opportunities to go train, and that's what we're doing. And it's a great experience. It's good for them to get away from Rutgers, get out of New Jersey, and kind of spread their wings a little bit and meet different people and travel with different people. And that's kind of what we promised them we'd do, and they're taking advantage of the opportunities.
What are the early reports on Anthony and how he's doing health-wise?
His health is great. He wrestled 7 matches over in Russia, was 7-0. Had some really good competition, so he's training really, really hard. He's obviously, the plan is to go up in weight, so he's gotten bigger and stronger, and he's gotten better, and he looks great, he feels great, and just keeping him healthy will be the most important thing.
How long's he been back on the mat going full throttle?
He's been training hard, since after the national tournament. He went to the U.S. Open, and that was probably quick for him to wrestle, and in the Open at the senior level. So he got back to training soon after that, and really wanted to prepare for July 1st, which was his trip over to Russia. So he's been at it since the Open, and probably now is when he should have competed, and it's where we're kind of on target where we need to be.
Has anybody emerged to this point that's really caught your eye since the end of last season?
We got some good freshmen, I think, that could wrestle right away, depending on what Suriano does with weight. Nick Aguilar from California has been with us all summer. Has had a really consistent summer, so that's been good. I think Joe Grello's gotten a lot better. Jordan Pagano has gotten bigger. And those guys are probably the guys, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking about that have helped us in the past. Nick, obviously, being a freshman. But guys like Billy Jans or another freshman coming in, might want to wrestle right away. And if he's good enough to do it, he's going to go. So, just off the top of my head, those guys. And we had a transfer, Christian Colucci, transfer heavyweight from Lehigh, who's put a lot of time in our room. I think he's made some gains. So, again, it's been a good summer, but it doesn't matter until we start really competing to see where these guys are at.
How are things different for Rutgers wrestling now versus 3, 4, 5 years ago?
Just the competition in the room. We're getting better and better kids, and guys that want to do it year-round and have these high aspirations. The expectations from the university and our fan base is really a lot higher. They want national champs. They get a taste of Suriano being in a final, and now they want a national champ. And with Anthony coming back now, we want 2. So the expectations are much higher. That obviously pushes our guys. They hear it, they see it, they feel it, and because of that, we get our guys training a lot more and setting higher goals. So that's kind of been probably the biggest change.
How about from a recruiting visibility standpoint? I don't think you guys were probably landing a high caliber California guy like Aguilar a few years ago.
No, I think it's the exposure to the Big Ten, being in the conference and being successful in the conference, and maybe more so being successful at the national tournament, and we do have a couple high-profile kids that obviously help us out, and are out there. And this day now and age with social media, it's easy for a California kid to see a New Jersey kid because of whether it's Instagram or Twitter, things like that. And our guys are obviously outspoken about what they're doing, and maybe that's good, maybe that's bad, but it's allowed us to attract someone like Nick Aguilar from California.
Switching gears to Suriano, and so much has been made about his work ethic through the years. What have you seen from him since the end of this past season?
Just the same, when he's in that room, it's at an unbelievable level. It's a really, really high level. He demands a lot of himself, but he demands a lot of our guys and our staff, and that's a good thing. He wants to do other things. It's not just wrestling. He's put a lot of time into fighting and boxing and movement training and things like that. Any way he can get better, he feels he can get better, he's going to do it, and that's he's challenged us, and that's a really, really good thing. But his work ethic is something special, and it doesn't really shut it down. Hopefully here in August we can get him to shut it down a little bit and relax, and so he's ready to go in September. But his goal remains the same. He's got that eye on the prize. What weight he goes, I don't think we know right now. We'll make that decision come September. But he feels good, being a little bit heavier, and his body's really, really important to him, as I'm sure you've seen, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
How hard is it to get that guy to shut it down? What do you have to do?
It's difficult, It's we'll even talk about at the beginning of the practice, just kind of, slowing it down. And we brought Reese Humphrey in, who's obviously our RTC coach and is a 3-time world team member. He's been around the best guys in the world recently, and just to be able to slow down from a technique standpoint. Maybe not everything has to be a spar or a fight, but more of a technical situation and just putting yourself in positions and playing in those positions. It's hard to get Nick to do that because he's super competitive, and I don't necessarily not like that. I like that, but he can be a lot better if we can slow him down, and that's our job as a coach to be able to do that.
When it goes to, when you talk about the decision to go 25-33, what factors play into that?
It'll be his decision. If he feels he's feels healthy, and he's last 2 years, let's be honest, he's been cut short with some situations that happened to him, an ankle injury, a knee injury at the end of the year, and I think he thinks, and this is maybe just me speaking out of turn, but maybe that's what he's thinking about why he's getting hurt. And obviously at Penn State it was a freak situation, but I think him just being able to train and lift and do other things and stay up in weight, maybe that's what he's looking at. But again, if he's weighing 133, 132, he'll probably end up going down. It'll be totally up to Nick, what Nick wants to do and where he feels the most comfortable.
You guys made a move last year with him making the finals. Historic for your program. Del Vecchio, nice tournament for him, getting on the stand. But when you step back, is there any thoughts in your mind about what might have been if you have a healthy Ashnault, if Richie Lewis comes through?
Johnny Van Brill, Johnny Van Brill. That tournament is such a roller coaster. The ups and downs. I'm sitting there watching Del Vecchio lose, to DeSanto, thinking, all right, there's a round of 12 guy done. Next thing you know, he makes an unbelievable comeback, wins the match, is an All-American, and then we have Van Brill up 3 points with 18 seconds to go. Kind of lose that match. So it's a roller coaster. It's up and down. And then Richie, of course, losing a close match to Marcel, not having Ashnault, Corvina being really banged up. So yeah, what could have been? Is there 4 or 5 All-Americans there? Are you a top 5 team? That's kind of what we were thinking about. And as we get into all that stuff motivates us, And that's the sport. That's the bottom line. The tournament's going to humble you in a ton of different ways, and it'll probably happen more often than not going forward. That tournament will do that to you. So if we can put it all together one time, what can be is kind of something we're looking at, as we get into this season.
Obviously, the Suriano deal a year ago was a huge topic and one of the most high-profile transfers we've had in college wrestling in recent years. The legislation that's changed there, the rules that have changed there, what are your thoughts on that and what that will do long-term for college wrestling?
I don't know. My thought is, some things have to be put in place. Obviously, I get that. Is it going to hurt your APR for kids just able to get up and transfer? So many times nowadays, if the kid's not the starter, he wants to get up and leave. Obviously, that wasn't the case with Nick, but that's, kids just want it now. What can you do for me right now? And that's kind of the world we're living in right now. So that, I'm sure there'll be a lot of changing over and moving to different schools. So I think there's got to be something in place where the program and the coaches aren't getting hurt by it. But the reality is, and I've always felt this way, if a kid doesn't want to be a part of your program, let him move on and go somewhere else. Unfortunately, on the back end of that, if little Johnny's not the starter, he's going to go somewhere else. So how is that going to affect us from an APR standpoint and some other things? Those are some of the things I'm thinking about right now. And but again, if he doesn't want to be part of your program and your vision and what you're doing, it's probably best you part ways. So I kind of look at it that way as well.
Does that change any of your long-term planning as a coach?
I don't think so. You build relationships with these guys. You hope there's a relationship strong enough where they want to be around you and your staff, and that's kind of the way we'll still go about it. But I think your recruiting talks change a little bit. And what I mean by that is, listen, up front, you might not be the guy right away. This is a very competitive program. So, just if you're not the guy right away, we need to know, are you the type of guy that's going to pick up and leave because you face a little adversity? So I think a lot of those recruiting talks are going to really start happening a little bit more often. You never want to be negative when you're sitting in an office with a family, but the reality is you're going to have to start having those hard talks, because anytime a kid could just pick up and go, that's going to hurt you and hurt your depth. And hopefully we get that with football with that whole redshirt thing where they can play 4 games and still redshirt. Hopefully something's similar coming along the way with wrestling. I think that would be great to help with depth. But, I mean, there'll be a lot tougher conversations when you're sitting around the recruiting table with families for sure.
Yeah, that the rule the football's getting, that would be huge, I think, from a dual meet standpoint.
Too many forfeits, and you should be able to let these guys wrestle. And, you know, that whole open circuit is, you lose a lot of guys. You lose a lot of really good guys if you automatically redshirt them and put them through the open circuit. It's never around your team. You don't know what's going on. And I think college wrestling, we need to open our eyes to that and see if we can get that pushed across. I mean, obviously, it's an NCAA thing, but I think if we push hard enough, it's something we should implement.
Anything else out there that you see that the sport could use from a rules standpoint that would really benefit us right now?
You know, we the Big Ten coaches talk quite a bit about having red shirts travel with the team. I think it's the stupidest rule ever. The fact you have to put kids in a vehicle and they're probably traveling 4 or 5 in a car and they're sitting at an open tournament all day and they're wrestling all day, and then they got to get in their car at 9 o'clock at night. Like, we're fortunate in Jersey, tournaments are 2-3 hours away, but I think about Wyoming, I think about Missouri, you got to go to an open tournament, that's an 8-hour drive. Now you're going overnight, and God forbid something happens when these kids are driving and they're tired. It's a long day of wrestling, and something has to be changed with that, where open tournaments are kind of, you know, you're allowed to go with your coach and you're allowed to be with your team. You're part of the team. I think that's just such a stupid rule. So I'd like to see that changed.